Hi, I'm Anna from Lovia, and yeah, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how to create change in a traditional industry today. And like Amanda told us, we at Lovia are on a mission to create impact on fashion industry, which is definitely one of the most traditional ones. And many studies show that it could actually be the second largest polluter right after oil and gas. So a quick impact is very urgently needed. So let's start from the problem. To really be able to make an impact, we have to understand what we need to change. So the most important thing is to realize what kind of problems need to be solved on your industry. And it hasn't been very hard to understand and find out that the biggest problems on fashion industry revolve around ecological and ethical issues. So that's the two that I'm going to talk about today. So first, ecological problem. I think that the good idea to approach the problem is to see it from both the industrial and the consumer side. And by this I mean that when you come to the industry side, you start from the very beginning of the value chain. So if you have anything to do with physical products, that would start from planning on how to start making some new raw materials and come all the way to selling the product. And then it continues to the consumer side. And here it's very important to remember that even though we're talking about consumers, we're talking about something that the companies are responsible for. So consumers are very much doing what the companies are marketing to them, what the companies are providing, and that is why that problem is also on the company's shoulder. So right now I'm going to give you a glimpse of what kind of problems we have identified here from the angle of fashion industry, but basically I'm talking about almost any industry with consumer goods because the problems seem to be quite similar. So on the industry side, there's a problem that we constantly demand for more natural resources to create new raw material, new fabric and new products. And when we create those new products, there is a huge pile of waste already at that production phase when we want to make things very effective. And for example, the cutting waste is a very big problem. And it's been great to see that there are many initiatives now recycling fabrics, but one of the biggest or problematic ones is leather. The fashion industry alone is generating about 800,000 tons of it every year, and leather can hardly be reused or recycled, so it's just a very big problem waste. And then the consumer side, the companies have taught the consumers to really consume a lot. So one day you're in, the next day you're out. And when you're out, you just want to get rid of the stuff you already own and buy something new. And because the fashion circle is so fast, you actually don't even have to produce so good quality for the customers anymore. So yeah, that's when we're creating a huge another pile of waste again. So if you would be able to just lengthen the life of your clothing for just a few months, you could be able to reduce the water and carbon footprints by up to 10%. So there is a huge impact to be made. So a little bit about how we solve it. So the great thing is that when you identify problems, you get the power to actually start solving them. So what we are doing is that instead of demanding for more natural resources, we are taking the waste that is already out there and making that into a new resource. And with that, we try to make something that would actually be much more long-lasting than the average products, and that people would actually want to wear for a longer time. So our designer Outi is always striving to come up with as many ways as possible to use one product, and we try to create a story with which the consumer would actually love to use the product for a longer time. And then the ethical problems. So here is a very complex image. of the value chain, common value chain in the fashion industry. And that is basically the root cause for the whole ethical problems. So on the industry side, the producers here, they have extremely bad working conditions, but the consumers, they don't care about it. They only care about how the product looks and what it costs. So what does this mean? That there are terrible, ignorant people working in the fashion companies and all the consumers are terrible and ignorant as well? No, it's not because of that. It's because we're talking about a very traditional business, and when the business has been around for a long, long time, the value chain has had time to get very, very hard and long and hard to understand. And when we don't see something, it's very hard to care about it. So the people here working in the fashion companies, they're not ignorant, they just trust their partner. So their partner is here, the production agent, and the production agent trusts their partner, the factory production management, who trusts their partner, who trusts their partner, and their partner, and their... And then we come up here to producers left with empty hands, because the value chain is just so long that we don't see them. And when we look here on the consumer side, so the fashion companies traditionally start selling their products to retailers, to stores, who have maybe from hundreds to thousands of different brands. And their business model is to sell those products for consumers as fast as possible. And what is relevant at that point is to tell the consumers, hey, look what we have and look what it costs. So these are the two only things that the consumers hear. Well, can you guess what the consumers are interested in? Of course, they are these two things. So there is nothing else to be interested about when they don't know. So here we have the common issue, ethical issue of a traditional business. And what we have done to solve it is making it as so simple that we can actually understand it ourselves. So we have basically cut out all the middlemen who hinder us from seeing how the producer is doing, and also to the consumer side. But let's first look at the producer side. So to be able to really understand what's going on, we are communicating straight with the person who is actually producing the product that we do. So we have a whole bunch of nice free digital tools today, from WhatsApp to Google Drive, with which we can actually very effectively, instead of communicating with some agent who communicates with someone else, just communicate with the producer. And this is why we know exactly what they need, how they're doing, and then we will be able to tell it further. But to be able to tell this to consumer, we actually need to be not only direct to producer, but direct to consumer as well. So when we skip the retailers, we really get the chance to communicate our story to the customer, and not only sell bags, but actually also sell ideology. And that's when we can start creating the impact on the consumer side. And to make the consumers actually see the producer through us, we have created this fully transparent DNA concept. So each of our bags has this DNA label inside, and with that code on the label, you can find on our website a full profile for the product, where we show where each material came from, who made it, where the factory is, and very importantly, what we paid for each step. So now we can make the consumer understand what it actually costs to make something or produce something ethically. And then when they see this, we really believe that they will start becoming interested and start questioning. And then something else than just the price and how the product looks will also become interesting. And here, because we have cut out so many middlemen without compromising the ethics and the salary of the workers, we can actually provide the product with an affordable price for the consumer. And also with our social medias, we're able to create a dialogue, so the producers are communicating straight to our consumers, So these two, who have been so far away from each other previously, are now in a straight dialogue and starting to understand what the other side needs and what's going on. And to be really able to create an impact, we of course need someone to react. And why we believe that this is working is the amazing reaction that we have had. So there are many people, our customers, who have been ordering from us and then sharing the story on their social medias and telling people that, hey, have you heard about this? Finally, we know something about this that has been so unknown before. And also media have got excited. So I think that we have been able to really start this snowball effect that is just growing and growing by just looking at the very old traditional industry and thinking about the kind of the first point A. Okay, where did this all start from? Why did it start getting so complicated? And when we just went to the point A and started making it really simple, we just suddenly started a revolution, and I think that that is super inspiring. Thank you.